to ayearofhitchcockmovies.com. We are your hosts, Jeff and Diane, and this is movie number 42 from 1960, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. And tonight we're watching the film that was a worldwide box office phenomenon at the time. It is a near universal critical success, and it's to this day the film most associated with Alfred Hitchcock, Psycho. After the huge success of last week's North by Northwest, huge commercial success and some critical success, I pointed out last week that where does Alfred Hitchcock go from here? It was a big deal. You know, he was at the top of his game. He had just made the Hitchcock picture to end all Hitchcock pictures, and I think they succeeded. He's also pretty much a household name due to the success of his weekly TV show, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, that's basically been running since 1955 at this point. A huge success. And the 9 years previous, since 1951, he's directed 10 films, including Strangers on a Train, Dial M for Murder, Rear Window, Vertigo, and last week's North by Northwest. What is next? Well, he owns Paramount Pictures, one more film, and he's actually about to sign a deal with Universal, the studio that he will stay with for the rest of his career. And decides on a book called No Bail for the Judge. He's going to make that one for Paramount. It's based on the British novel of the same name. It's to star Audrey Hepburn, herself a big star at the time. And it's to be another big production, filmed in London. And boy, for various reasons, like Audrey Hepburn got pregnant, but other reasons too, the project falls through. So then a book was shown to Alfred Hitchcock that he read and immediately decided that's it, that's what he's going to do for his next picture, and had his people quietly go out and buy the rights to it. This book, published in 1959, is called Psycho. Written by Robert Bloch, based on some grisly real-life murders in Wisconsin in 1957. Hitchcock anonymously paid $9,000 for the rights, not a lot of money at the time. We remember in 1940 David L. Selznick paid $50,000 to the rights to Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. And boy, gets one of his TV guys, one of his TV writers for his TV show, James Cavanaugh, to begin writing on the script. So one big problem. Paramount Studios, who's also read the book, hates the book, hates the idea of it being Hitchcock's next picture, and basically tells him, no, you're not doing that. Well, he had full creative control on what he could do and couldn't do, as long as the movie came under a certain amount of money. So he decides to do it anyways, and he finances it himself. In lieu of getting a salary, he is to be paid on future earnings. That was a stroke of genius. So. So decides to do it for as little money as possible. That's one reason. But here's another reason he does it for as little money as possible. He'd noticed that there was all these low-budget horror movies of that era that always made a lot of money. And he thought to himself, what if somebody good made one of these lower-budget movies? Certainly it could make a lot more money. And to keep the budget low on this one, he actually ends up using a lot of his TV crew, a lot of the people he works with every week on his show that are routinely turning out these great shows. Each one of those shows cost about $130,000 every week. North by Northwest, by comparison, cost $3.5 million. And ultimately, Psycho was done in its entirety for about $800,000. So. Very interesting. Unfortunately, James Cavanaugh, that writer, wasn't producing the kind of script that Alfred wanted. So he ends up hiring a newcomer named Joseph Stefano, who was also very inexpensive, and asked him to give it a go. Joseph Stefano, also known for, he produced the series The Outer Limits and wrote some of the episodes for that show, which came after Psycho. Now, to say that those two had great chemistry during the writing of Psycho would be a great understatement. Although, early on, Stefano had a real problem with the main character in this book, named Norman Bates, who was a drunken scumbag into pornography, among other things. And basically informed Hitchcock he really couldn't do it. Well, it was at that moment that Hitchcock shared that he had Anthony Perkins in mind for the lead role. And yeah, Stefano, knowing who that was, thought, yeah, I can work with that, and decided he would make the character much more sympathetic, and the rest is history. Anthony Perkins first filmed in his first TV role in 1953 in a film called The Actress. He actually won a Golden Globe for the Best New Star of the Year at that time. And he made some more movies, but in 1957 he actually released an album, a music album, or CD as the kids would say today, and ended up having some hits. And one of the hits is Moonlight Swim, which went to number 24 in the Billboard charts. But before appearing in Psycho, he starred in films with Jane Fonda, Ava Gardner, Audrey Hepburn, Sophia Loren, so he's pretty well known. And boy, he actually owed Paramount Pictures a film. He owed them a movie, so he was also very inexpensive to get. So Hitchcock also wanted and got Janet Leigh to star in the movie. Janet Leigh at the time was married to Tony Curtis, and they together, of course, had Jamie Lee Curtis. Janet Leigh had been appearing in films since the late 40s. She was also very well known. Just 2 years before Psycho, she starred in a great film called Touch of Evil with Orson Welles and Charlton Heston. She's in her 30s while filming Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. And boy, he sent her the book, and she liked it, but she didn't care. She just wanted to work with Alfred Hitchcock, and they also got along very, very well. We have an appearance, her last appearance for Alfred Hitchcock, by Vera, well, more than an appearance, but Vera Miles stars in this. Vera Miles, of course, in 1955 appeared in The Wrong Man and was being groomed to be the next Grace Kelly, and we all know that didn't work out. So Vera was basically already on salary with Alfred Hitchcock. She was getting paid anyway, so it just made sense for her to go into this inexpensive movie. We also have the last appearance by Patricia Hitchcock. This is her last Alfred Hitchcock movie, so look for that. Now, Alfred wanted to do this quickly. He wanted to film it in 30 days, which is remarkable for a big movie at the time, and boy, they come close. But, you know, no Robert Burks. Too expensive to get him doing... I always wondered that. Why is Robert Burks, his favorite cinematographer, does all these movies from Strangers on a Train until 1964's Marnie, and then Robert Burks passes away? Well, he probably was too expensive and ends up getting John Russell to do the cinematography. John Russell, again, being part of that TV crew. And no Edith Head to do costume designs, and again, maybe because she was expensive, but also Alfred Hitchcock had everybody buy the clothes from the store. He wanted a realistic look, and so no ball gowns for Grace Kelly. She's not in this movie. But you know, he couldn't live without his favorite editor, George Tomasini, and this is one of the 9 films that George Tomasini edits for Alfred Hitchcock. And also can't live without and had to pay for Bernard Herrmann to do the music. This is the 6th of 8 films in a row that Bernard Herrmann did for Alfred Hitchcock, and thank goodness he was part of this movie, and we'll talk about that at the end of the film. Alfred Hitchcock actually ends up shooting this picture at Universal. Paramount agreed to distribute it, and Hitchcock financed it, so it's kind of a mishmash. Saul Bass ends up, this is his last film where he does the opening credits. We saw his opening credits scenes in Vertigo and North by Northwest, and this is it for Psycho. He sets the tone marvelously in this movie. You'll see that right away. He actually also storyboarded a couple of the scenes in this movie, and we'll talk about that at the end of the film. So you'll see he has a pictorial consulting, so that's very interesting. So there is a cameo to look for. It's real quick in the movie because it had to be, because he knew his face being famous, he had to get it out of the way just so as to not distract audiences for the mood he was trying to build. And it must be said that, like no other movie, Alfred Hitchcock had to fight the censors to get this movie out there. And boy, you know, he's only been fighting them since he came to Hollywood, and you know, he had to fight the censors too with all those great British movies he made. And let's just say he's gotten really, really good at it. He knew what he could and couldn't get away with, and that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. He got real good at dealing with these guys. So good. Let's get to it. Let's watch this classic movie from 1960. We're looking forward to it. So yeah, let's watch.